Days of Fright Horror Movie Project, Year 4.
Welcome to the Two-Ton Nerds. As always, my name is Max James. It's October 8th, 2015, which means it's day 8 of the 31 Days of Fright Horror Movie Project, Year 4. And the movie today is a revisit. I am revisiting Hellraiser. And the reason behind that is because I am planning on watching all the films in the Hellraiser film franchise, because the Hellraiser films is the one horror franchise that has really eluded me. I've seen Freddy and Jason and Michael and Chucky and whatnot and Leatherface, but Pinhead and the Hellraiser films is just the one horror franchise that I have not really seen. And up until the first year of this 31 Days of Fright, that's when I first watched Hellraiser for the first time, and I loved it. Still do. I'll kind of dive into that in a second. But I always planned on doing the sequels as well, but I just never got around to do it. So this year I'm making a point to watch all. I think there's 9 of them altogether. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see where it kind of starts out and where it ends, because I kind of from what I gathered, some of the later ones aren't that very good. So my judgment is, I cannot wait to see what my opinions on those particular ones are. So if you've never seen Hellraiser, I'm going to tell you what you need to know about this movie. And first up is basically the plot. The plot is essentially this. It's centered around a puzzle box that is basically a calling card for these things called the Cenobites, which is Pinhead and Butterball, and there's one that chatters his teeth, and there's also a female Cenobite as well. I can't always remember their names, what the fans call them, that is. So, but they're dressed in leather. They're all white. They're they're self-mutilated, or their body is mutilated in various forms, and they're very ugly. So this puzzle box kind of attacks this guy named Frank. At the beginning of the movie, you don't know who he is, and then you kind of see the aftermath. He's been torn to pieces after these hooks kind of got hooked into him and tore him apart. So flash forward a little bit. The dad, who is Frank's brother, the stepmom, and a daughter. The daughter kind of floats in and out of the house, but she's very essential to the plot. But we learn that the stepmom has had an affair with Frank, and she's missing him and stuff like that. And the dad is very oblivious to this. So, and he's just like, the house they're moving in is their mom's house, or the house they grew up in, or whatever. So they're like, okay. So they're moving a bed up the stairs, and he ends up cutting his hand on a nail, and he's very deathly afraid of blood. So he's kind of walking around like, help me, I'm about to faint. And as he's going into this room where the stepmom's at, he's dripping blood, which in turn starting to revise. I'm trying to talk to it this morning. He's starting to resurrect Frank inadvertently. So throughout the movie, the mom has to lure men into this room in order to revive Frank to his original form. And because throughout the movie, you see him in various stages of regeneration. First, he was just a skeleton with some organs, and then then next form, he's with muscles, and he can taste and feel pain and stuff like that. Then to finally he has skin, and that's where kind of a big twist or reveal kind of comes into play. And I think it comes into play in the second one. I'm not quite sure. So the daughter, she kind of catches wind of what's going on by accident, kind of stumbles upon what's going on, and so that's where she really comes into play. Is her she messes with the puzzle box as well, brings the Cenobites in, and they kind of make a deal, and they're like, maybe if you bring us Frank, we'll let you live, or won't take you with us. So that's what she's off trying to do, is save her own skin, and as well as bring Frank to the Cenobites. And that's where I'll stop because I don't want to spoil this movie because it's a good movie. It really is. The acting is pretty good. I enjoyed. I wasn't turned away from the acting. Like most horror movies, there can be acting in the movie that kind of throws you off and kind of takes you out of the moment. I didn't have that moment in this movie. The special effects is where this movie really shines. The practical effects and the stop motion and the use of kind of CGI lightning. When the Cenobites are kind of conquered at the end of the movie, obviously that's kind of a given. They kind of dissipate with kind of fake lightning. I mean, it looks good for the 80s. So, but it looks good. That CGI was actually kind of enhances the scene. It really does. It didn't really take away from it. But the really main driving point is the gore and the regeneration of Frank through his various forms, because it is really well done. It really is. He does look very hard to look at in some scenes, and because he is very disgusting and slimy, and he's just slowly rebuilding himself through inside out. So, and there's a few other gory moments, where the mom has to kill the people, what you want to call it, the unlucky ones who gets lured into this room, just like Under the Skin, like I did yesterday. So so he can drain the life out of him. So it was good. I enjoyed this movie. I didn't watch my review from the first year because I started watching like a couple minutes of it, and I couldn't get past it myself. I can't because I'm very stiff in those early videos. Like, welcome to the 210 Nerds. As always, my name is Max James. And this episode, I will be talking about Hellraiser. So I was like very low, talking very low, not very vocal. I haven't found my voice yet. So I'm going to tell you what my rating is for this movie. It's exactly the same as 3 years ago, but I will. First, number 1 is run-of-the-mill horror. 2, best watched with a group. 3, best, it's more than average horror, but adds nothing new to the horror genre. 4 being helps move the horror genre forward, and 5 being a horror classic. And Hellraiser is a 5. It's a horror classic, hands down, just because it introduced us to Pinhead, and it spawned 8 sequels, and so it's like, oh, okay, so obviously, and as well, this is just a good movie. So that's really all I gotta say. I highly recommend this movie if you're a horror fan. Obviously, I kind of lose some points in the horror world because this is the only Hellraiser movie I've seen, so I'm looking to make that change this month. So, as always, my name is Max James, and I'm going to go geek out.